Namaste. Today is the 20th day of July 2022, and we are here in the Life Divine with our beloved Ranga. We are on page 328, and this is still the indeterminates and cosmic determinations. Beginning with the line, but every possibility.
So we will read the para first, or rather is half the para, but we'll read it and then we'll come back to each sentence.
Good.
But every possibility implies a truth of being behind it, a reality in the existent. For without that supporting truth, there could not be any possibles. In manifestation, a fundamental reality of the existent would appear to our cognition as a fundamental spiritual aspect of the divine absolute. Out of it would emerge all its possible manifestations, its innate dynamisms. These again must create, or rather bring out of a non-manifest latency, their own significant forms, expressive powers, native processes. Their own being would develop their own becoming, Swarupa Swabhava. This then would be the complete process of creation. But in our mind, we do not see the complete process. We see only possibilities that determine themselves into actualities, and though we infer or conjecture, we are not sure of a necessity, a predetermining truth, an imperative behind which capacitates the possibilities, decides the actualities. Our mind is an observer of actuals, an inventor or discoverer of possibilities, but not a seer of the occult imperatives that necessitate the movements and forms of a creation. For in the front of universal existence, there are only forces determining results by some balance of the meeting of their powers. The original determinant or determinants, if it or they exist, are veiled from us by our ignorance. But to the supramental truth consciousness, these imperatives would be apparent, would be the very stuff of its seeing and experience. In the supramental creative process, the imperatives, the nexus of possibilities, the resultant actualities would be a single whole, an indivisible movement. The possibilities and actualities would carry in themselves the inevitability of their originating imperative. All their results, all their creation would be the body of the truth which they manifest in predetermined significant forms and powers of the all existence. So
this is a very complex paragraph.
Okay. We can do two things. We can get the overall picture of what he's saying by the summary, and then we go into each sentence, because he's using actuals, possibilities, or imperative. What exactly does he mean by these things? We have to see.
Exactly.
Okay, so I will first read out the summary of what he's saying here. We get an overall picture. What is he saying in the para? The overmind consciousness cannot give us the solution we are seeking. What is the solution we are seeking to what is the problem? The problem is, where is the origin of manifestation? What is being manifested? The physical world is manifested, and we have to find out the origin of where it is. Otherwise, we see in the physical world, we see that the origin of everything is matter. That's what scientists is saying. It is matter that is creating life and life that is creating mind. So you have a problem. But when you go to the higher levels of consciousness, you see that matter is non-existent. So you have a problem. So who is creating this universe? Basically, that's a problem. So the overmind consciousness cannot give us the solution we are seeking. The truth has to be found in the plane above the overmind, which is the supermind. The supermind is a plane. This is actually what we have read before, the last time. Then we'll come to what we have read today.
Yes.
The supermind is a plane where the oppositions disappear and become complementaries. Status and dynamism are not contraries. Okay. The personal and the impersonal are not contraries. The immutable and the mutable are not contraries. They are all aspects, two poles of the same reality. This is what he said, what we read last time. Now what we read today. But our mind is a half-developed consciousness and is in ignorance. It does not see the reality. It sees only the end results, the forms in the universe. The supermind, on the contrary, sees the origin of the universe and understands the total harmony from which all forms in the cosmos originate. The one issues out of itself, into itself, all the many that are latent in the universe, latent in it. The universe is nothing but a self-expression of the supreme reality. So basically what he's saying, when you go to the supermind, you can see the origin, the development and the end product. This is what he's saying.
At once.
Yeah. So now we go back to each sentence and see that. So keep this in mind, that you, in the overmind consciousness, we see only the actuals, what he calls the actuals. We don't know from where it has come. Okay? A new species comes up, we don't know what is its origin and from where it has come. But if you are in the supermind, you can see the origin of everything, you can see its development and the end result. That's what he's saying.
Can you also see its destruction?
The
destruction of something also.
Yeah. But here he is talking of the creation. Okay. So now this is basically what he's saying. The difference between the overmind and the supermind. So now I read every sentence. But every possibility implies a truth of being behind it, a reality in the existent. So every possibility, even if it is not yet manifested, there is a truth which is making that possibility. And the possibility manifests in time, but not immediately. It manifests itself in many, many different times according to the world conditions. I give you one example, which I love to give. Leonardo da Vinci thought of heavier than air flying machines. Okay?
The helicopter.
Yeah. He even made drawings.
He designed it, yes.
But the world conditions were not ready. We did not know the laws of aerodynamics. We did not have aluminium. We did not have synthetic materials, light materials. The world conditions were not ready, but the possibility was there. And he had seen the possibility and even put it on paper. Now when the world conditions are ready, you see the end product. Here what happens? We see only the end product. Okay, I have made this. But where did it come from? Was it conceived somewhere? You don't see even in the overmind consciousness. But when you go to the supermind, oh, it came from here. This is a seed and this is a tree. In other words, the seed and the tree is a very good example of this. Mm-hmm. In the physical world, we see only the tree. Okay?
Or we
see even the seed.
Even the seed, yes.
Even the seed. Yes. But when the seed is subtle, even the seed has got an origin, which is subtle. Okay? In other words, maybe a better example is the plan that the architect has got in his head and the building that finally takes place according to what he has foreseen. So the plan for everything, what Sri Aurobindo calls the real idea, the blueprint of everything is in the supermind. And if you are in the supermind, you see that. The archetype, what you call the archetype of everything is in the supermind. If you are slightly below, you don't see the archetype, you see only the lower result. That's what he's saying. Nah? So, every possibility implies a truth of being behind it, a reality in the existent. Now, that's interesting. He is not saying existence, but he is saying existent. So, both the words imply substance. Sat, Chit, Shakti, Ananda. Sat is normally seen as truth, but it is the subtlest of substance, and that is the one from which everything in the physical world is made. It's the raw material from which everything is made. So, the existence would be the impersonal substance spreading out to infinity eternally. But the existent is the personality behind that impersonality. Existent. In other words, the Lord. But the Lord is also, He is material. You mustn't think that God is something vague and hazy and nothing. He is His own material. He is conscious. The material is there, He is conscious of it. So that's existent. Okay? So, not existence. When he speaks of existence, he means the subtlest of substance. When he speaks of substance or matter, he means that substance which is the grossest. The gradation from the subtlest to the most gross.
So when he capitalizes existent, it's the divine.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, not only divine, the personal aspect of the divine, the Lord, the Purushottama, the Ishvara, the master of existence, is fully conscious. Okay? So, for without that supporting truth, there could not be any possibles. So, this again, we can also picture to ourselves, there is always an origin to something. We see a river in the plain, but its origin is where? It's in the hills. It's the glacier that's the origin, and it is static. It's not actually static, it's moving at a very slow pace, but it's static. And the movement of the river, the river is the universe. And it is originating from there. But if you are in the overmind consciousness, you don't see the glacier. When you go to the supermind, you see the glacier, you see the process of its melting and becoming the river and merging into the sea. That's what he's saying. Okay? So, for without that supporting truth, there could not be any possibles. Without the glacier, there can be no river. Without the seed, there can be no tree. Without the blueprint in the mind of the architect, there cannot be any building. That's what he's saying. In manifestation, a fundamental reality of the existent, again, would appear to our cognition as a fundamental spiritual aspect of the divine absolute. So, in manifestation, in the physical world, okay, a fundamental reality of the existent would appear to our cognition as a fundamental spiritual aspect of the divine absolute. The divine absolute is a supermind, this Satchidananda, or even above, okay, and it would appear as a fundamental spiritual aspect of the truth. Now we'll read further and see. Out of it would emerge all its possible manifestations, its innate dynamisms. So, whatever is possible there, all these things would come out of that, the fundamental spiritual aspect of the divine absolute. So, the fundamental aspects of the divine absolute are the planes of consciousness that come out from there. So, you could say the 7 planes of consciousness that come out, they are the fundamental aspects. You could speak of them as consciousness, life and matter. But if you want to go more into detail, Sat, Chit, Ananda become in the physical world, they become consciousness, mind consciousness, life consciousness, and matter consciousness. These are the fundamentals. Now, matter is producing any number of variables. Life is producing, vital is producing any number of different types of emotions and desires. Mind is producing any number of thoughts. So, the determinant, the chapter is the determinant and the indeterminable. So, these are the fundamental determinants. They determine what's going to come out of it. Okay? So, suppose you take life. Life can produce so many different types of things. It can produce, we discussed that I think last time, but I wanted to make a chart, but I haven't, I've done it, it's at home. Life is a determinant and it produces invertebrates and vertebrates. These are the two possibilities. Then the vertebrates again go into 5 types of different classes: mammals, birds, reptiles, okay, amphibians, and one more thing, I forget now. So these are the 5 things. Then again take the mammals. The mammals again start becoming the canine family, the equine family, the horse family, the dog family, and again each species is creating different types of dogs. So this process of creation is coming from a particular divine determinant. Life is producing all these things. So if you think of mind, also the same thing, different ideas. If you think of matter, again it can produce so many different types of things. All the elements that it is producing is all matter is producing. Matter is the fundamental, it is producing all these possibilities. That's what he's saying. So, the chapter is the determinant and the indeterminate. Okay, the indeterminate is that which cannot at all, at the highest level, it is true. Indeterminable. Okay, now life is an indeterminate because it can comprise of anything that it wants, all these possibilities of living creatures it can produce. So these are the determinates. A cat is, I can describe it fully. A dog is a determinate. But that is the indeterminate from which these are determinates are coming out.
The ape also.
That's the monkey, yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. The different species, different. So, in manifestation, a fundamental reality of the existent would appear to our cognition as a fundamental spiritual aspect of the divine absolute. So, there are different theories. One theory says the fundamental aspects are 5: ether, air, fire, water, earth. Or, if in the Indian system, if you want, Annamaya Kosha, matter; Pranamaya Kosha, life; Manomaya Kosha, the mind plane of consciousness; then Vijnanamaya Kosha, Anandamaya Kosha. Srivno follows the division into 7 planes of consciousness, because that's in the Vedas. So these are the fundamental absolute. So he is using the word fundamental reality. And the fundamental reality is creating the subsidiary realities. Okay? So, as a divine absolute, a spiritual aspect of the divine absolute, out of it would emerge all its possible manifestations, its innate dynamisms. So, all these again must create, or rather bring out of a non-manifest latency, their own significant forms, expressive powers, native processes. See the word native, it's already involved. In each seed, the nativity of what it is going to produce is already there, the origin. A seed may be a mango tree seed, it may be a chiku tree seed, it can be a pineapple thing or whatever. It's already implied in the seed. So that's what I mean by the word native. It is there at the origin. Native means origin, the birthplace.
What about seeds that do not come true?
For
For example,
are there any seeds that don't come true?
many, the plumeria. It will always be a plumeria, but it may have many, many different colors.
Okay.
many different shapes.
Okay, so that's exactly what he's saying here. He's saying, out of it would emerge all its possible manifestations. That's what he means.
Yes.
See, that's why it is so important. Every phrase that he uses, we can think of something corresponding to that in the physical world.
You spent 15 minutes on the first sentence.
Because that's the main thing. Okay? So, out of it will emerge all its possible manifestations. And the different colors of plumeria have not yet exhausted themselves.
No.
They'll go on
It will
infinitely.
go on. Exactly.
Okay, so it's innate dynamisms, the manifestation and dynamism. Dynamisms, the different types of possibilities that are there. Okay, so these again must create, or rather bring out of a non-manifest latency, their own significant forms, expressive powers, native processes. Their own being would develop their own becoming. There you are. This is the key to the whole thing. There is a being which is static and it contains all the potentialities, and that being starts manifesting itself, it goes into becoming, and it expresses itself. All the possibilities in that seed become realities here. But there is no end to the process. It goes on and on and on and on.
And I feel with the supramental, it's going to be even more beautiful.
Oh, then I should mention something. I don't know if you've seen that, but today I got a video which scientists are discovering fantastic things. They are saying this. We are not saying it. We are saying something else. The supermind has descended 50 years ago, about 50 years now. What the scientists are saying is, newborn children, they are seeing physical changes. The evolution is going much faster than what it was going earlier. For instance, I'll give you 2-3 examples they are giving. Children are being born without wisdom teeth. See, in evolution, there is always nature adjusts herself to the present circumstances. Long ago, we had an appendix, and when we started cooking our food, we did not need to eat raw meat anymore. So the appendix lost its function and slowly became a useless thing. Okay? Now it has no fundamental function in the body. It can be taken out. It will make no difference to
We
you.
call these things vestigial remnants.
That's right. So the vestigial remnant now, with the Superman design, is the wisdom
teeth.
We don't need it. So someone raised a question in the class the other day that, but children are born without teeth. But it's not that. They're embedded in the jaw. And then they come out. So even in the jaw, they are not there. This is one change that the scientists are seeing. The other change is, they call it the coronary artery. One central one is developing very fast. Something which was not there before, something like that. I'm not a doctor, so I can't go into detail, but new things are coming. Other things they are saying, extra bones are coming in the hands and legs. So they are saying that fantastic changes are taking place and evolution is going much faster than before.
And last week you told us about the children are being born with hair.
That's right.
And open eyes.
Yes. So the scientists won't say supermind, but this much they are saying, that the evolution is much faster now than before. And that's exactly what Sri Aurobindo wanted. A quick change and evolution to the next stage. It's fantastic. So, and this is what he's saying. So everything that is possible is becoming a reality. Okay, so Swarupa and Swabhava. Swarupa is a very interesting concept which we must have very clearly in our mind. And Swabhava. Sometimes using the word Swarupa and Swabhava is basically the same thing. The innate character of a thing in the origin. So, suppose a human soul is there we are all part of the oversoul. We are a portion of the divine soul. But when it is being created, it is being ascribed, okay, a particular nature. You will have this nature, you will have this nature, you will have the nature of consciousness, of knowledge, you will have the nature of not necessarily knowledge but courage, you will have this tendency, you will have that tendency. This is all there in the origin, just like the seed and the tree. And then it becomes this swadharma here. So swabhava, the origin of the soul, has the nature. It is its own nature. This has been dealt with in the Gita in quite detail, Swabhava and Swadharma.
So, where does the choice of the psychic being come in to decide what qualities it will
Actually,
have?
when you realize this psychic being, you realize what your function is in the world. So there is no choice. The choice is when you are ignorant. Huh? When we are ignorant, we have a choice. But when you surrender to the divine, there is no choice. You are an instrument of the divine. And he makes you do what he intends to do with you.
And that's the predetermination.
That's right. That's the Swabhava, the predetermination.
Very good.
That's right. Okay, so Swarupa and Swabhava. This then would be the complete process of creation. So what is the complete process of creation? The origination with its own nature, the manifestation and the end product. This is the whole thing which you can see in the in the supermind, not in the overmind. This then would be the complete process of creation. But in our mind, we do not see the complete process. We see only possibilities that determine themselves into actualities, and though we infer or conjecture, we are not sure of a necessity, a predetermining truth, an imperative behind them which capacitates the possibilities, decides the actualities. Very interesting sentence. We'll go into detail. Okay, but this then is the complete process. There is a origin to everything with its own innate nature. You are intended to do this, and you are sent down into the physical world. Okay. Then the other one, the process. You see only the end result here. But in our mind, we can think of possibilities. No? Yeah. Today, man is thinking of the possibility of going to Mars. 100 years ago, he was thinking of going to moon. It has become a reality. It's an actuality now. What was the possibility has become an actuality. Now we are thinking of going to Mars. It will take place when the world conditions are ready.
This is the very positive aspect of the science fiction writers.
Yes.
They have seen these things.
All science fiction is possibilities.
Yes.
There is a little bit of mixture of falsehood also in it.
Sure.
Because they misinterpret and all that. Okay. So, but that's the truth. Yes. So, but that's what Sam is saying. In our mind, okay, he's saying, where is that gone? Let's see. This then, we see only, but in our mind, normal mind, we do not see the complete process. We see only the possibilities that determine themselves into actualities. Okay. So, that much we can see even the possibility. And in our case, the possibility would be the origin of the actuality. But the real possibility is up there, which we don't see. So it's like so many stages are there. Okay. So, we see only possibilities that determine themselves into actualities. Okay. And though we infer or conjecture, we are not sure of a necessity. We are not sure whether it will become a reality. A predetermining truth, an imperative. So now, what does the word imperative mean? Something that is bound to happen.
Bound to happen, yes.
That's an imperative. So, the imperative is there in the supermind. And it becomes a reality, but not immediately. When the conditions are ready in the world, it becomes a reality. So, an imperative behind them which capacitates the possibility. Now, the very interesting word he has used, capacitates.
Capacitates,
I don't know if it exists in English as a verb. Does it? But Shemda
Yes, I
uses
believe
the
it does.
verb.
It capacitates.
Capacitates. Makes it a reality. Capacitates. Allows it to happen. The possibilities. Decides the actualities. So you can say the imperative is the divine will, which says, I want this to happen, and allows it to happen, and actually manifests it. Okay? Decides the actualities. Our mind is an observer of actuals. We see everything in the physical world. But it's also an inventor or discoverer of possibilities. The mind is an inventor. It has invented the TV, it has invented this tablet, it has invented the mobile. The mind has done that. Okay? So, our mind is an observer of actuals, an inventor or discoverer of possibilities, but not a seer of the occult imperatives that necessitate the movements and the forms of the creation. Now, this is very interesting. We spoke of mobile. So, what is the origin of the mobile? First of all, you have a telephone with a wire connecting the two ends. Then Srimda says in Life Divine, second chapter, he says that you eliminate the wire in between. Only the instrument here and instrument here. That's a mobile. Then he says the next stage will be where you eliminate even the instrument at both ends. What would that be? Telepathy.
Telepathy.
So that is the origin. The capacity of the mobile is really the telepathic origination. No? It makes a lot of sense. Because that is possible, you have this development. So, we are not sure of a necessity. A predetermining truth, an imperative behind them, which capacitates the possibilities, decides the actualities. Our mind is an observer of actuals, an inventor or discoverer of possibilities, but not a seer of the occult imperatives that necessitate the movements and forms of a creation. So, we are obeying the laws of the imperative without knowing what is driving us. Okay?
But the scientist is still just an observer of actuals.
Yes. And he is the instrument by which the origin is manifesting itself in the world. Without his knowing it. Without knowing that he is an instrument. That's the interesting part. Then, forms of a creation. For, in the front of universal existence, there are only forces determining results by some balance of the meeting of their powers. So, in the physical world, all the possibilities are there, and there are forces determining results. Okay? For instance, if you want at the mental level, at the vital level, at the physical level, there are all sorts of forces which determine the results by some balance of the meeting of their powers. The original determinant or determinants, if it or they exist, are veiled from us by our ignorance. We don't see the process, we don't see the origin.
I want to ask about the previous pralayas.
Yes.
Did the existent decide to destroy the earth?
I would think that you could interpret it this way, that the world conditions were not ready, so therefore it had to be removed and a new possibility brought in. Removed and a new possibility brought in. That's why there are so many creations. But this time it's supposed to be the last creation.
Yes.
The supermind would certainly be the last creation. After that there is creation also. Evolution is there. More and more evolution is there. But Srindu says it will be an evolution from knowledge to further knowledge, not from ignorance to knowledge. There is no end to evolution. That's what he says. So the pralaya, yes. The world conditions not being ready, the divine took it up to a certain stage and then went on to the next one, the next one.
That's a brilliant explanation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think that would make sense, because I would compare it to the process of rocketry. Okay? First, when we tried to send up a rocket, it went up 50-60 miles and the weight was too much, it dropped out. Then man got the idea that the fuel tank which is there, I will take it up to a certain level and then it becomes a dead weight. So I'll throw it away. So that would be the pralaya. Okay? And then now the rocket is much lighter and there is a second engine which will take it even further, even further. It could be like that. So you take it up to a certain stage and then you destroy it. You take it again to another stage and destroy it. See, it's interesting, but this process is there even in the manifestation of the supermind. Okay, according to me. Okay. I'm giving you an idea, you will see. Sri Aurobindo had to do the work of manifesting the supermind. So he had to be schooled into the process and the truth of it. So Vivekananda comes to him and gives it to him in jail. So now he knows the theory. Now he comes to Pondicherry and goes up to the overmind level and he realizes, oh, this is not the supermind. Why? Because he has got the theoretical knowledge of what was given to him by Vivekananda. So he realizes the overmind is not the supermind. So he withdraws and starts his intense work on it for 12 years, 1938 to 1950. At 1950, he says that just like the rocketry again, this work I am not able to complete, I have to pass it on to mother. So it's a relay race. Vivekananda giving it to Sri Aurobindo and Sri Aurobindo giving it to the mother to complete the work. This is also very similar to the pralaya process.
Very much.
It does make sense, na?
Yes.
It is such a difficult work that it had to be done in this way.
And when mother had the word, and he told her, you'll become a great religious person, but that's not what we want. That must have been the overmind word.
Probably.
And she dropped it. She gave it up.
Okay, so let's get back to our text.
Yes.
For in the front of universal existence, there are only forces determining results by some balance of the meeting of their powers. So here he is talking of the dualities. In the physical world, there are powers of destruction and construction. So they, by the meeting of them, something works out. Okay, that's what is meaning. And this is true at all the levels. At the level of the vital world also, there are dualities. And by the balance, some balance of the meeting of their powers. So different powers are there and it balances out. This meets this. Okay, the power of the static and in the physical world, the power of the dynamic and the static meet, and it works out something. Then in the vital world, you have also dualities, love and hate. Okay, hot and cold. These are all the dualities. They meet. There is a balance, and something works out. At the mind also, there are different ideas and clashes of ideas, opposite ideas. So that's what is meaning here. In the physical world. For in the front of universal existence, there are only forces determining results by some balance of the meeting of their powers. Evolution is a process by which opposites clash and a new thing comes up. Opposites clash and a new thing comes up. He has dealt with this question in his essay on Heraclitus.
Yes. Heraclitus. Yes. And he's dealt with it in other places too, this movement forward by contrary forces.
That's right. So that's what is meeting here. See the words, universal existence, forces determining results by some balance of the meeting of their powers. He means these clashes and it evolves into something else. Okay, so... But to the supramental truth consciousness, these imperatives would be apparent, would be the very stuff of its seeing and experience. You see the origin of all these things. In the physical world, we see a result of clashes and we see, oh, there's a result. But there you can see the origin of all these movements. That's what he's saying. Okay, so the very stuff of seeing and experience. In the supramental creative process, the imperatives, the nexus of possibilities, the resultant actualities would be a single whole, an indivisible movement. So, let's see what he's saying. Imperatives. The command is there, this has to take place. Okay? The nexus of possibilities. When it comes down, again we saw that one determinant makes many possibilities. Okay? There is a nexus of possibilities. And finally the resultant actualities.
Yes.
Very interesting.
Yes.
3 stages. The
Would be a single whole.
Yes. There you can see all. You can see the beginning of something, you can see its development, and you can see the end result in the supermind. But not here. We see only the end result. This process he describes throughout Life Divine in other words. He says the supermind originates an idea, it's a real idea, develops it, and governs it in the physical world. So you can see the same idea again is there in the same way. It creates an idea, it creates a possibility, develops the possibility, and governs it in the physical world. In other words, everything that's happening in the physical world, the divine presence is there behind, guiding it. So these are the 3 things that he's talking of in these words. So you have to relate. He uses the same. These are all very abstract ideas and concepts, but he uses different words, but through the words you can see that he is saying the same thing. So here he is using imperatives. The imperative is, this is going to happen. It has to happen. The nexus of possibilities. But when it comes down, because the one becomes the many, different possibilities come up. Even opposites. And then through the clash of forces, meeting of forces, there is a result that comes up. But the result was intended there. Very interesting what he's saying.
Can we just get into
it's not that I have decided something and directly it becomes a possibility. No. I want this to happen. Then it comes here and it becomes, many possibilities come out of it. That's the determinant and the determinable. So, first there is a possibility, and that possibility expresses itself in many ways. And these many ways sometimes are opposites. So, there is a meeting of forces and a clash, and then a resultant.
So, love can be expressed as hate.
Yes.
In these possibilities.
Yes.
And war? War?
Yes.
Same?
That's right. So that's what Heraclitus says that in his, he says, war is the father of creation, everything, something like that. So that's exactly what he's saying here. The words, you have to see through the words and then you can see that what he's saying there. So resultant would be a single whole, an indivisible movement. The possibilities and actualities would carry in themselves the inevitability of their originating imperative. Okay? The possibilities and actualities are the second level. The first level is the imperative. The second level is the possibilities and actualities, and they also would carry in themselves the inevitability of their originating imperative. All their results, all their creation would be the body of the truth which they manifest in predetermined significant forms and powers of the all existence. All existence now.
Yes.
This time all existence. Because it becomes physical substance. It's very abstract the way he puts it. But if you have seen other places where he has used the same ideas in different words, then you can see through them. For instance, I give you only one example. He's saying, some balance the meeting of their powers. By that he is meaning the clash of forces, the dualities. Meeting of the powers. Okay, so.
Wonderful, Ranga. Wonderful. One paragraph.
Yes. But even one para is
Half a paragraph.
half a para.
Half a paragraph, actually, yes.
Sri Aurobindo is to be seen like that, studied like that. Very interesting. See, sometimes he uses vague words. I'll give you two examples, okay? It's very interesting. In one place he says, Germany is a subjective nation. Music, philosophy, okay?
Yes.
And then he says that in trying to find her soul, she found her vital being. That's what he says in one place. And that's why it created two wars. That's the reason. Germany, in trying to find its soul, found its vital being. And so it was the originator of two world wars. Okay? Then he says in another place, he says the same thing, but in totally different words. He says the world evolution was going on, taking place, and then there was a subjective confusion. He says that in another place altogether. So in the beginning, what does he mean by subjective confusion in the evolution? And it got delayed. The evolution got delayed. That's what he means. He is referring back to that same thing. Okay? So this is one example of how he uses different words in different contexts, but meaning something else altogether. I'll give you another example. He says in Life Divine, India in the Vedic period had a progressive mind. It did not reject the physical world. There was a huge amount of development in metallurgy, in astronomy, in mathematics, even surgery. Okay, so many things were there. But then it lost that due to many reasons, and it lost the progressive mind. He uses the word progressive mind. And in Europe, not spiritual, but the progressive mind is there, because it was very, very vitalistic, and it produced a civilization in the physical world because they had a progressive mind. It is they who discovered the mobile, they who discovered the TV. Okay? So this is a progressive mind. Then Sri Aurobindo says that in India, because it had lost the progressive mind and it was a destined nation, it had to come in contact with the progressive mind. What he means is the British conquest of India.
Yes, of course.
But he doesn't say that. It had to come necessarily into contact with the progressive mind. So you see how he uses words. That's why I'm saying it applied very much here in this case. I'll give you two examples. It confused me a lot in the beginning, but then I knew he had said that. So, you see, he says different things in different contexts, without going into too many details.
Excellent.
Anyway, I also enjoyed it tremendously.
He said to Amal in a letter that he had no time for Savitri now.
Yes.
It was World War II.
Yeah. He said something much more important has come up. Yeah.
Thank you, Ron.